Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Trey and Duke here, back with another video, and you just got a Cane Corso puppy, but now what? Today we're going to break down what you guys need to know and understand if you are brand new owners of a Cane Corso puppy. This video will also be beneficial to those who are in the process of getting a puppy and they may not have brought one home yet, or you're thinking about getting a Cane Corso puppy. So before we get into it, guys, I ask that you please subscribe to the channel. We have so many viewers that watch. Not everybody subscribe. If you can't subscribe, please subscribe. Hit the like button also, because that helps us out and pushes us out in the algorithm so more people can get this content, and it's greatly appreciated. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, guys, so you just brought home your Cane Corso puppy, and I know it's probably been a long, drawn out process, a lot of anticipation, a lot of anxiety built up around the whole process, but you finally got your beautiful pup home with you. But now what? What do you focus on? What do you do? You know, a lot of adjustments that need to be made on your behalf and everyone in your house. So where do you get started? All right, so first thing I want to discuss here with you guys is one of my favorite things to discuss, especially when it comes to Cane Corsos, and that is socialization, right? You just got your Cane Corso puppy home. You have what I like to call that golden window of 7 to 12 weeks where you really want to focus on socialization, okay? There's some misrepresentation when it comes to socialization, meaning, some people think like, hey, I have to go out here and let my dog meet other dogs, and I have to let everybody pet my dog and take them to the dog park. And I'm here to tell you guys, absolutely not, right? When you're focusing on socializing your brand new pup, you just want to establish a baseline of normalcy for your pup. What are day-to-day things they're going to encounter? Sights, sounds, animals, seeing other people walk by, different type of activities. That can include, children playing, screaming, yelling, whatever you can think of. If you can introduce it to them, that's, in a positive way, that's going to be good for them, right? Because you want them to establish a normal baseline of, hey, this is not a threat, or this isn't something I need you to worry about. So they may be afraid in the early days of things, and I don't want you guys to force that on them. Go gradually in slow steps, whether it's like an automatic door at a pet store or whatever the case may be, right? Slowly introduce those things, take small wins, and don't push the issue. But when you socialize your pup, you want to get them just used to seeing things, hearing things, especially the stuff that they're going to be seeing regularly on a daily basis. That's going to be really beneficial. So another thing I do want to point out to you guys is be careful where you put your pup down during this time, right? They haven't got all their vaccines yet, and you don't want to expose them to something like parvo that can be fatal for them. So as you're socializing your pup and you're eager to get out there because you don't want to miss this very important window, I would tell you guys, make sure you're not just putting them down in any grassy area. You're really selective about the spots where you're putting them down and allowing them to sniff around or use the restroom. But with that being said, guys, socialization should be one of your, if not the most important thing you focus on when you first get your Cane Corso puppy. All right, so keep that in mind, guys. Socializing your pup, and we'll move on to the next point. All right, guys, next point I want to discuss with you is crate training. All right, it is very important that you crate train your pup, okay? It is something that I highly recommend. Not everybody does it, but I will tell you guys, with a Cane Corso, crate training goes a long way, okay? When you get your new pup, they shouldn't have access to everything within your house, right? You need to establish some boundaries, right? And they need to earn those privileges, right? They're a blank slate. They don't know anything yet, right? They're accustomed to being with their litter mates at the breeder's house, right? They're in a new environment. So you need to set the tone of, what's allowed and what's not allowed in the house, right? And crate training is a good way to do that, okay? Another thing crate training is going to help you out with is those accidents around the house, getting into things, potty mishaps while you're trying to house break them in those regards, or get them used to potty training or using the potty outside. The crate is going to be vital in that. And when you go and get your crate, you can do a couple of things. You can scale up as they grow, or you can get a big crate and a divider. And as they grow, you give them a little bit more room inside the crate. But ideally, you want to just give them enough room in there so they could, comfortably lay down, get up, turn around, move around. But you don't want to give them too much space in the crate to where they're sleeping on one side and using the bathroom on the other side, and you're gonna have a big problem. Okay, you don't want to do that. So, like I said, you can get a small crate and scale up as they grow. You spend that money, or you can start big and just have that divider to help you out. But when it comes down to crate training, it's going to be something that you want to make sure that they're comfortable in there. You can get covers. Right, you can get covers for your crate to make it nice and dark and cozy. Maybe give them a nice little chew toy, or something that they could work on to keep them stimulated while they're in there. But when they're young like that, most times when you take them out, let them run around for a little bit, and then you put them back in the crate, they're gonna go to sleep. Right, so most of the time they're gonna be napping in there. But it's a tool that you can use to control the environment, and also gradually scale them up to accessing other things inside the house. So you can look up other videos for crate training. I may even do one that's more detailed than what I'm discussing here in a future video. But just look up how to crate train your pup. It's not that difficult. They'll learn to like their crate. They'll probably see it as a safe space, and it'll really help you out when it comes down to housebreaking, potty training, and all that good stuff. So crate training, keep that on your mind. That is something you need to implement day one. All right, guys, let's go to the next point. All right, guys, the next point we're going to discuss here is manners. All right, that's one of my favorite topics to discuss. Anytime I'm doing a consultation with someone, I always go over manners and establishing boundaries within your house. Okay, one of the ways that I implemented manners with Duke was around feeding times. Okay, especially when you have that young pup like that, they're going to be overexcited about feeding. And it's something that they're always going to look forward to, and it gives you a good opportunity to really establish some baseline training there. Okay, so something I've always done with Duke was when it's feeding time, I'll put him in a sit. Once I taught him sit, and it's pretty natural for him, right, to learn the sit command. But I would place him in a sit, and I would prepare his food, and then I would just have him sit there. And if he got up during that time, I would just reset him, put him back, apply marking, yes, good sit, while he was young. Even when he was young, is always being consistent. And then I would, release him to go eat, with a break command or whatever it was at the time. That is something that you want to do consistently, from day one, right? So they understand, just because mom or dad's preparing my food, I'm hungry, I'm excited, they're not all in the bowl too early. They're not in their food bag or bin, before you are. It is a very controlled environment, and they have to sit here in a good stance, or whatever you command you give them, a down or a sit, until you give the command. Nothing happens with your new pup unless you say so, right? That's the ground rules you must establish with them, and it's going to be vital for introducing obedience training. So just keep that in mind when you talk about manners, especially centered around food. All right, establishing boundaries within your house, right? If you don't want the dog in the kitchen, the dog does not go in the kitchen, okay? Something I did when I allowed Duke to walk around within the house is, one, I got a longer leash, right? And I would keep him on a leash even when he had a little free, some free roam time in the house, just so I could keep him close and I can control everything, right? He's new, he doesn't know anything about the house. He doesn't know all the ground rules yet, so I'm in control of that, okay? Every time we move from one living space, one room to another, I put him in a sit, and then I proceed to go first, and then I will give him a release command to follow, all right? The more you do that with your pup, they'll start to understand, okay, mom or dad's in charge. I need to be looking to them for direction, and all commands come from the tower, and they'll start to follow, right? Naturally now, even before making this video, coming downstairs with Duke, I'm walking downstairs and I'm like, all right, he knows what time it is because I'm grabbing the cameras and stuff, but he still stops at the top of the stairs and waits for me to go down first. I don't even have to say it. When I go take him out, same thing. right? If even, during this time when I was taking them outside, we would go through this stuff. But transitional spaces within your house, you control that. They don't get to just get up and, do their own thing on their own time, okay? So be mindful, control that. Make sure you really focus on manners. Like I said, use those feeding times to implement some of that good basic obedience training. Your sit, your stay, and your down, right? Even if they get it that early, okay? So just to recap here, focus on manners and establishing, boundaries within the house, okay? I gave the example about the kitchen also. If you don't, or any area you don't want them in, you don't allow access to. If they're in there, right, you make sure you mark with a stern no, right? And if you have to, back them up out their space, this is your space, you take a commanding step into their space and, you tell them no, all right? And then you can positively reinforce, when they're in an appropriate area or they're doing something right, okay? So just keep that in mind, guys. Let's move on to the next point. All right, guys, next point I'm gonna discuss here is vaccinations, okay? I know I briefly mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit more information regarding this topic. So you wanna make sure that you get your shot records and whatever medical records that you can from your breeder. That way you can transfer them over to your vet that's gonna be caring for your Cane Corso, all right? Next thing you wanna do, guys, is make sure you get your, schedule your pup for a visit, initial visit with the new vet. As soon as possible, right? You want to get in there so you can start getting as much information from your vet as possible, rather it be, an exam. Also establishing a shot schedule, because they're going to have to get, the rest of their shots so they can be, fully vaccinated. You don't want to be in that situation, like I mentioned earlier, where they don't, you put them in a compromising situation where they haven't received their full set of shots, and now they have an exposure to something that could be harmful or even worse, fatal. So get them in there to the vet. It can be an initial visit, a happy visit. I used to call them. I used to take Duke to the vet, not even for shots, just to get in there, positive experience. Meet the vet, meet the techs. Get some treats. So he can kind of get used to the environment, so he knows it's not always a bad thing. And we're back, guys. So like I was saying, just, get them in there and make sure they have a good positive experience, that's where they're not just, poking and tugging and pulling at them. They can walk around the facility, like I said, meet the vet, meet the tech, get weighed and all that good stuff, maybe get some treats and a lot of loving on the pup. So they're not afraid or, thinking, oh, just because I come to this place is going to be a negative experience, and it'll help you out a lot going forward with your vet visits. But just stay on top of your vaccinations, and once you have a good solid vet, trust me, they won't fail to remind you when your pup needs to get seen. So with that being said, guys, let's move on to the next one. All right, guys, next thing we want to discuss for you and your new pup is centered around exercise and mental stimulation, okay? You want to make sure that you're not overdoing it in the early days with your pup when it comes down to the physical exercise, okay? One, they're gonna probably let you know when they're pooped, right? They're tired. They're just gonna plop, and you'll have a pretty good understanding when they had enough. But I just want you guys to know, like, extremely long walks, high impact activity like jumping, stairs, things like that. You want to avoid in the early days until they get a little older, joints develop, strengthen, bones, all that good stuff, right? You want to, like I said, stay away from those activities that may, aggravate that stuff. When it comes to, mental stimulation for your pup, there's a variety of things you can do. You can introduce like feed tray puzzles that they can use. Those help out. Anything that you can have them focus on, right? It's going to really wear them out mentally, right? To where some of the physical stuff isn't even necessary in the early days, okay? If you can get their attention, whether it's focusing on you doing some, basic training stuff or whatever the case may be, you'll start to see it'll wear them out, and then they'll be pooped. You put them back in the crate and they'll be good to go for a little bit, okay? But you have to have an understanding that, these dogs do require, exercise, especially as they get older, right? They like to work, they like to run, so the more that you can give that to them as they develop, the better off it's going to be. It'll make life inside the house a lot easier if they're worn out. Same thing goes for the mental, okay? Especially as they get older, you'll start to realize it takes a lot more physically to wear them out. But if you introduce some activities that require them to really think or focus, that'll do the trick. So, a tired pup is a good pup. Go out, do your thing, have them focus, do some drills or whatever the case may be, bring them back in. They'll find a good spot like Duke here or whatever, lean on you, and then they'll be out, well behaved. So just look up some training activities that you can do for that age group or whatever group your pup might be in. And like I said, things that you can do to mentally stimulate your dog. And that stuff will go a long way and help you out. All right. So that being said, guys, let's move into the next point. All right, guys, next thing I want to discuss here is very important, and that is potty training, okay? This is something that you want to get right, and you want to get it right as soon as possible, okay? First thing I will say about potty training is understand that your pup is going to have accidents, okay? No matter how great you do, no matter, you think you got it down packed, you've been doing it, they're on a schedule, everything's good to go. Just be prepared. They will have accidents, but the key part about this is for you not to get frustrated, okay? And fly off the handle and do something crazy because you're upset because maybe they had an accident on the carpet or whatever the case may be. That's something that can bring a lot of frustration, right? And some people react, or some people don't know how to properly potty train a dog. And they, you see them when they think I got to get the newspaper, or I got to rub their face in it and all that other stuff. I'm here to tell you guys, absolutely not, okay? If they have an accident, it sucks. Shame on you. I wish you could have got them out, sooner before they had the accident, okay? During this time, you want to start paying attention to all their cues that they are going to give you, right? Walking around, sniffing, spinning in a circle, they're letting you know they're about to go, right? And if you could get them, pick them up, take them out before they do it, cool, great, good on you. If not, just get some good materials and cleaning tool supplies, and clean it up really good, all right? If they have an accident in the house, you want to make sure that you have some kind of enzyme cleaner or whatever the case may be to remove the smell. If not, they're going to associate that with a place that they're supposed to use the bathroom. So what I did in this case when I got Duke was, and I was excessive, okay? I wanted to really get it right. I set a 30-minute timer interval on my phone, and I took Duke out every 30 minutes and placed him out in the yard, and I encouraged him to use the potty. When he used the potty, it was a big party, big praise, treats, a lot of love. I made it a big deal, as so you should as well, especially for number twos, right? And they'll start to associate that with, okay, when I go out here, I get praise, love, I'm supposed to do it out here, all right? Make sure that you guys are doing that, and you will, eventually they'll catch on. They may still have accident in the house, like I told you earlier, clean it up, and then move forward. As he got a little older and he started to pick up a little bit, I got away from the every 30 minutes. Even at night, I wasn't getting up after I went to sleep every 30 minutes. I would sometimes, especially when I first got him, I would still get up midnight, take him out, or middle of the night, take him out. Set an alarm, do what you got to do. The more work you put in, the more effort you put into it, the sooner you can get things established, and you make your life easier, right? It's going to be work. You're going to need to do it, right? I'm not going to recommend you guys put out any puppy pads or anything like that, because that's going to encourage them to use the bathroom. We don't want encouragement to use the bathroom inside the house. We only want that outside. We want all the potty smells outside, so they know, like, okay, this is my designated area, this is where I go. And then when they get old, like older like Duke now, I don't have those issues. I'll let him out even if I need to leave the house and he has to be in here for a couple hours by himself. I know I have peace of mind. I'm not going to come home and there's, he just used the bathroom everywhere, okay? And another thing I want you guys to understand that, potty training works in tandem with crate training, okay? So whenever you take them out of that crate, they should go, especially if you can carry them during this time, right? If not, then, you get them out as fast as you can. But you want to make sure that they go from crate to grass, right? As fast as possible with nothing in between, right? Because what I'll tell you what will end up happening is You let them out the crate and you're like, oh, hey, do good, whatever. And you're trying to get outside to use the bathroom, and they'll make a pit stop between crate and door. And then now you got an accident that you got to clean up, okay? So just understand, anytime you take them out of the crate, rule of thumb, get them out there straight to the grass and encourage them to use the potty, all right? With that being said, guys, really keen in on focusing on potty training, and that will save you in the long run, okay? So moving on to the next point. All right, guys, you also want to make sure that you prep your house, okay? The areas that they're going to be in or have access to, make sure that they don't have any, small toys or anything that they could, potentially chew on and ingest, especially when they're small like that, that could lead to like blockage or something. That's just not present, okay? Just do, once over, always make sure that things are put away, the kids' toys and things like that, until they have a good understanding about, what's theirs, what they can chew on, and you get, you're able to train them a little more. That you just don't have these random items laying around, because they are puppies, and they're going to try to, they are exploring the world, primarily through their mouth at this age. So just understand that you need to prep the environment, control the space. Like I said, get a little, at least 10, 20 feet, whatever you want to do. Give them a little bit at a time. If they're out of the crate, right, you got an eye on them, and everything could be, everything could be good from there, right? You keep a good eye on them. If not, trust me, they will get lost. They will find something that you don't want them to get into, and they'll either, destroy it, or, they'll likely destroy. They'll go at it pretty hard if they can. All right, so just keep that in mind. Keep them away from that stuff. Prep the area, and that'll help you out a lot. So let's move on. All right, guys. So I get this question a lot all the time. Is how soon can I start training, and what can I do? Everybody's always excited about training, especially when they see the videos of Duke following commands or whatever the case may be. I would tell you guys, training starts the moment you get your Cane Corso, okay? It may not just be with, following commands, heel, all this other stuff, whatever. It's you establishing leadership over your pup, and them understanding that they need to look to you for, direction, okay? That you're in charge. And you can do that by, like I mentioned earlier, during feeding times. One of the best times to take advantage of is feeding times, because they're so focused, they're hungry, they're food motivated, and you could really, drill and teach them the basics, right? Sit is pretty natural, right? That's something you should be able to teach. Down and stay, or, those three, especially during feeding times, can go a long way, and they'll get used to you giving them commands and them following the commands, and then them getting the praise, the love, the reward, access to the toy or access to the food or whatever the case may be. They will, really like that and appreciate that. So you can take a little bit of time with them, with being small, 5-10 minutes, if that, goes a long way. And you just do a little bit multiple times a day or whenever you can get it in, and then you gradually scale it up as they get older, okay? But the basics you can absolutely train in the beginning. Establish, like I said earlier, boundaries and manners during feeding, okay? Teach them the basic commands, sit, stay, down, in the early days when you bring them home, and that will help you out in the future when you try to introduce more advanced things. All right, so let's move on. All right, guys, last point we're going to discuss here is centered around nutrition. That's all on you, what you decide to feed your pup. I just offer advice here to say, okay, if you're you're feeding raw, you're well versed, or you know what's going on there. You're making sure they're getting all the appropriate meats, bones, or whatever that they need. And on the flip side of that, kibble, if you're feeding kibble, make sure you're giving them a pretty good quality kibble. The best that you can afford, that's going to be good for them and that works for them. You want to be mindful of your pup's poops during this time, right? If they're just constant diarrhea and stuff like that, that's going to be a no-go. So you need to consult with your vet to make sure nothing crazy is going on the inside, and they may recommend some foods or whatever the case may be that you can try to switch them to that may take better for them to they start producing those solid, consistent poops. All right. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you're going to feed raw, it's very popular for people to do. that you know what you're doing, you're getting quality food for your pup. And then on the flip side with kibble, make sure that you're giving them some good kibble, something that's working for them, and establish a good feeding schedule. Okay. When Duke was a pup young, he was on 3 times a day, and I stuck to that. Okay, so he looked forward to it. It was a lot of work, but I still fed him on that schedule 3 times a day, like clockwork. We worked in some manners, a couple commands, access to his food, and boom, and it worked out. So we still do some of the same things to this day. He's on a twice a day schedule now. So if you guys had that question, but like I said, just do some research on nutrition, and whatever you go with, be consistent, and make sure that they're taking well to whatever you're feeding them. All right, guys, let's move on. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the video. I just wanted to sit down with you guys and give you some information regarding, having a new Cane Corso pup and some things to expect, and just give you some tips about, things that will make your life a lot easier, whether you thought about them or not. Put this video together for you guys just to help out. So I hope it is helpful. I appreciate you guys watching the video, especially if you made it to this point. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the like button if you found value in this. It really helps us out a lot, guys. Just understand that that it's going to take a lot of work with your Cane Corso, right? I don't want you guys to get frustrated when things don't go to plan. Okay, just understand you have to be resilient. It's going to take a lot of time, effort, and attention, and if you're not willing to do that, you're going to have a hard time trying to raise a Cane Corso. But you're here watching this video, so that tells me you're in the right headspace and you're up to task. You're ready to do the job. So I wish you guys well with your pup. If you could, guys, send me over some pictures of your pup, and tell me about your journey over on Instagram at I am Duke the Don. I'll pop it up here so you guys can see it. And I would love to see your pup and hear about your story over there. So that being said, guys, check out the video I got popping up on the screen. And until next time, guys, see you in the next one. Peace.